Welcome back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. This is the AEW Dynamite review show, hot off the heels of a very successful All In over here in the UK and building to All Out over in Chi-Town. Lots of stuff happened on the show this week, and interestingly enough, we're going to start with the beginning of Dynamite and the return to AEW of Jon Moxley. Now, John's been missing for quite some time, a good 2 months he's been away. But he has caused an absolute stir on his return to AEW, literally by saying one sentence. And that sentence, as he was talking to Tony Schiavone, is "You don't run the company anymore." And it was so very interesting because with that, seemingly moving away from the BCC, we'll get into who he's set up an allegiance with in a minute. But that, it's not your company anymore, is the line that he used, which has got the internet abuzz with who it could be. There's lots of talk that he is hinting at an AEW debut of Shane McMahon, the son of Vince McMahon. We know him and Tony Khan have had their meeting, or meetings, shall we say. There was one where the picture was taken very, very recently of those two having a secret meeting, and Tony Khan didn't give too much away, that apart from the fact he really respects Shane McMahon as well. Jon Moxley with his old Death Raider music as well from New Japan, but seemingly hinting that it is not Tony Khan's company anymore. Whose company is it? Will we end up being someone like Bobby Lashley coming in? We know he's available now. He's left WWE. MVP, another one. Shane McMahon. Those two bonded over on SmackDown over the 2015 time. But very interesting. That sentence alone set the internet abuzz with who it could be. Who is he alluding to? And that again goes back to what we've been saying all along with AEW about, listen, storylines and building up. What a great way to begin a storyline of potentially the arrival of Shane McMahon or a Bobby Lashley or somebody else by saying it is not your company anymore. Now, I did say he was alluding that there was a new allegiance with Jon Moxley and seemingly pushing the Blackpool Combat Club away, obviously now with PAC initially as well. Jon Moxley later on in the show was walking out, and as doing so, there was a couple of security guards taken out by Marina Shafir, the Problem. And that is a big allegiance. So Jon Moxley's been very high on Marina Shafir. He's the few interviews that he's had, especially with Renee, his wife, very high on Marina Shafir. So now they've brought them two together. Marina Shafir also debuting in Progress Wrestling at the end of next month, which will be quite interesting as well. But that alone, and the fact that Moxley has said about that line about the company not being his anymore, is very, very intriguing at the moment. Where is that going to lead to? I don't know, but I'm very keen on finding out. And kudos. I mean, AEW started it that way, started Dynamite with that, which is very, very interesting. Certainly makes you want to see more. Speaking about wanting to see more and returning of old feuds, Hangman Page was kicking off Dynamite's in-ring action with a hard-hitting cost fight with Tomohiro Ishii. They beat the shit out of each other, to be quite honest with you, in this. It was great to see. Ishii's run in AEW has been great, obviously with the Conglomeration as well. We want to see more of that. Hangman Adam Page picking up the victory in the match was fairly expected, to be honest with you. However, it was after the match that we took the turn towards All Out. And that was with whose house? You got it. Swerve's house. It was quite funny, the entrance, Prince Nana. It was a more serious dance than the dances that he normally does. They were pissed off when they walked out. Obviously, Swerve losing the AEW Heavyweight Championship to Bryan Danielson at All In. However, it's seemingly now that these two are set to have a match at All Out. Swerve was saying, he had to beat the man to become the champion. But what kind of man does Hangman want to be? And Hangman stormed out. Didn't necessarily give him an answer to All Out, but it has now been confirmed. Swerve, Hangman, All Out, Chi-Town, steel cage match. That is the old classic way to end a feud. If you remember years ago, many, many years ago during the 80s that the cage was the feud ender. They did have the Texas Death Match, which we thought was going to be the end. Swerve picked up the victory in the last two matches that they had. He picked up the victory in the Texas Death Match when everyone thought Hangman Adam Page was going to pick up that victory, but he didn't. Now we've got the big one, the steel cage match at All Out in Chicago next weekend. Who picks up the victory in that? Does Hangman finally get it done against Swerve, or does the Swerve Strickland train roll back through for his match, those rematch that he would probably want, excuse me, against Bryan Danielson, assuming Bryan Danielson hasn't retired. We'll get to that very, very shortly on Dynamite. A return that happened on All In, happened on the pre-show as Saraya and family are in the ring. Out comes the returning Jamie Hayter to clear house. And this week on Dynamite, she took care of Harley Cameron in double quick time with two Haterades, getting the victory and picking that up and starting the Jamie Hayter bandwagon. Where is it going to lead? What title is it going to lead to? I hope she takes the title off that waste of a person that is Mercedes Moné. 10 grand on her haircut and zero in the ring. But Jamie Hayter returned to action on Dynamite. It's great to see Jamie back after that prolonged injury. It's nice to have a slow build towards whatever title she's going to go for. I'm sure it's Mercedes' title that she had to relinquish. I could be wrong on that one. It may have been the world title, which is still held at this time by Mariah May now, of course. So we'll see where that goes. But Jamie Hayter back with a bang this week on Dynamite. A man that also was unsuccessful at All In, that man being MJF, losing the American title back to Will Ospreay, who we beat, which was the international title, which is now the international title again. But MJF denouncing himself as an American, basically, and also picking an issue with Daniel Garcia. Again, Daniel Garcia effectively costing, well, assisting, shall we say, Will Ospreay in his match at All In, allowing Will Ospreay to hit the Tiger Driver on MJF to pick up the victory and reclaim the international title. MJF not very happy. And he wanted to talk to Daniel Garcia if he ever shows his face. Well, Garcia did show his face, but he blasted MJF from behind. He wanted the avalanche power driver, but security stopped that from happening. But he won't stop it from happening in this time next weekend, All Out. Garcia, Maxwell, Jacob Friedman, MJF has been done. And he wants to basically put MJF on the shelf, like MJF put him on the shelf, and get wheeled out on a stretcher. Great to see Garcia back contractually. We don't know. The last reports come out saying that he's still not signed a contract with AEW, or at least a new contract with AEW. His contract extension, his contract, so apparently runs out in October. We will have to wait and see. He did choke out MJF unconscious with the guillotine on this, and as he tried to hit the power driver, the security picked it up, pulled it up. But interestingly enough, with that, Daniel Garcia contract time's running out. MJF are All Out. What is going to happen there? Will MJF continue, or will MJF pick up a vital win after losing against Will Ospreay? Or does Daniel Garcia derail MJF further? And more importantly than all that, does Daniel Garcia stay in AEW, or does he leave at the end of contract? I am not sure. I would imagine that they brought him back. That would indicate that something is close. You know, with Ricky Starks, it's seemingly unavoidable that Ricky Starks will be leaving. A bit the same like Penta and Ray Phoenix. Seemingly they're off their way. But the fact that they brought Garcia back, perhaps maybe to finish him off at All Out so that you can write him off and totally write him out of AEW, or he has indicated he's willing, or they've had a verbal agreement on a re-sign of contract, in which case you could write him in and continue him on after All Out. But we will wait and see. But All Out is set. Garcia, Maxwell, Jacob Friedman, another match. They've had to add a lot of matches really quickly in this because of the quick turnaround being next weekend. Also, the matches, the stipulation for Statlander and Willow Nightingale has been confirmed, and I believe our AEW guru got it right. A Chi-Town street fight at All Out between Statlander and Willow Nightingale will take place. That was the stipulation picked by Willow Nightingale. Now, Learning Tree. Jericho and Roderick Strong teamed up against the Conglomeration and Hook. You got what you expected from this. Lots of chaos, which was tough to keep up to at times, to be honest. But it seems as though now we got the movement away from Hook and Jericho, thank Christ. Hook does lock in Red Rum on Roderick Strong. The referee didn't see Roderick Strong's foot on the ropes. Roderick Strong did, however, tap out to Red Rum, and the Undisputed Kingdom then attacked Hook. And Strong has held the FTW title over his head in triumph. So perhaps now Roderick Strong and Hook are going to go at it for the FTW Championship. I'm all for that. I like the learning tree. The learning tree isn't the problem. Jericho wrestling is. I'm sorry to say, the guy's had a glittering 30-year career. We're never going to take that away from him. But I think that the in-ring wrestling should really be kept to a minimal, and certainly not on big pay-per-view cards where it really isn't needed. But Hook and Roderick Strong, on the other hand, I do have a bit of interest in. Roderick Strong's a really good technical wrestler. Hook with the suplexes should be a really good complement of styles, which should work really well should their match, or when their match happens. Is it going to be All Out? Is it going to be Dynamite? I don't know. Well, speaking of waste of time, Mercedes Moné wanted to celebrate her victory backstage. Private Party tried to get in on the celebrations. And Isaiah Cassidy did try and put the moves on Mercedes Moné. And Camille was to prevent that. And Okada was there. And basically, it was sayonara bitches to Private Party. Not quite sure where that is going, if anywhere. Okada and Cassidy, would you want to see that? I'm not sure. Mercedes Moné seemingly aligning with Okada, perhaps with the Young Bucks thrown in there as well, could be interesting. However, I'm not a fan of Mercedes Moné. Certainly not been a fan since her in AEW. I think she's been a waste of time. But what could happen in the future, who knows? We will wait and find out. A women's champion I can get behind on the airways, Mariah May. She come on stage to celebrate. But she did say that the celebration had been postponed because she's not doing it in this town. She said Mariah knows it's called champagne, but it should be renamed Flat Stale Piss Warm Beer. Wow. She runs down. She said it needed some glamour. The one word that glamour, and I'm just sort of putting it out there. Glamazon, Beth Phoenix. She's out of the contract with the WWE. Is there a distinct possibility that we could end up seeing perhaps a Glamazon versus the Glamour? Beth Phoenix and Mariah May, she did pull out the title and she did disrobe and she had some stockings on anyway, she did have that on. But I do wonder if the Glamour, if we're aligning to the Glamazon, could I just be fantasy booking that in my head? I don't know, but it could be interesting. The Glamazon versus the Glamour. Could it happen? Who knows? We would have to wait and see. But Mariah May's celebration postponed this week. She wasn't doing it in champagne. No, sir. We did see the grizzled young veterans put the AEW tag team division on notice by saying, when you see the grizzled young veterans coming, grit your teeth. That is a tag team I'm really looking forward to seeing in AEW. You could put them up there against the best and they will deliver awesome matches to a tag division, which, obviously losing Penta, potentially also have lost the Machine Guns. They're apparently heading to WWE. No official confirmation about both of those two, but by the sounds of it, both of those teams WWE bound. So to pick up the grizzled young veterans would be a great win. Gibson and Drake would be a great win for AEW, and picking them up and hoping we see them going forward. And who are they going to target? They did come out once the Young Bucks had retained the tag team championship, against FTR and the Acclaimed. I mean, the grizzled young veterans and FTR, the veterans and the Bucks. There's a lot of mouth watering. Like even Private Party and the veterans would be a really good tag match to get into. I would really like to see that. I'm thinking perhaps we could see that in the future, which would be fantastic if we got that in AEW, and a good pickup if it's the case with the Grizzled Young Veterans and AEW. We will see where that goes. Nothing yet, but we will find out, I'm certain, and probably a bit more next week. We did see, however, the highlights of Konosuke Takeshita in the G1 Climax. And he's on Rampage this week against Mortos Commander and Leo Rush in Rampage. We will have that review next week on Monday, I believe. We'll be rampaging, shall we say, on Monday. Now, the next match I was really looking forward to. Ricochet, Carl Fletcher, I was really predicting this to be great. Ricochet just coming in from the WWE, a point to prove, perhaps, really good get for AEW, a perfect addition to AEW when you look at what he does in the ring and how he goes about it. You would think be absolutely magical. What could he do? The mouth-watering clash potentially with Will Ospreay in the works. Could it happen? I'm sure it will at some point. And you thought Carl Fletcher, you would think brilliant. What a great opponent for Ricochet's first one. Obviously, Ricochet does pick up the victory with the vertigo on this, and a lot of fun stuff in this match. But I think the unfortunate thing is the chemistry between these two wasn't quite there, unfortunately. I didn't feel it. I don't know if what you guys had thought, but I think that them two just didn't quite have that chemistry that you would expect to see between two fantastic talents, by the way. Nothing against how talented they are, but I just don't think it worked for me. It was fun for what it was worth, don't get me wrong, and a great introduction to Ricochet to AEW, but I just think I was just a bit disappointed that the chemistry just wasn't there, because it could have been much better than what we saw, but it just fell a bit short, in my opinion. Of course, however, it did bring out Will Ospreay, and he standing at the top of the ramp and was looking to perhaps challenge Ricochet. But you don't forget about the bastard Pac, and on the stage he hit him with a poison Rama, which is incredible. It really was. And Ospreay sold it unbelievably well. Really did. And he did say that you don't overlook Pac. You don't overlook Pac. And he welcomes a Ricochet to AEW. He does pick up Ospreay, but he does tell him to get to the back of the line because Ospreay belongs to Pac. Very interesting times. There. Ospreay Pac is all out next weekend. That is going to be an absolute barn burner of a match. They've only had 2 matches, I believe, in the Indies over in the UK. One of them was at Rev Pro, tore the house down. It is going to be awesome. We're going to get Ospreay and Ricochet at some point, guaranteed, and that is going to be sensational. And this is why I'm saying that I think we get Ricochet and Pac again, and just in AEW, we get a bit more freedom about what they can do. And I think that this is why I think Ricochet is a great fit for AEW. Just what he does, everything he does, just makes it perfect. And that, for me, is why Ricochet will be brilliant. It didn't work, surprisingly, against Carl Fletcher when I really thought it was going to, but it didn't. I'd said the chemistry was a bit off, but the chemistry between those 3 guys, a triple threat even, sensational. Could be match of the year. Ricochet in the Continental Classic, perhaps, could work as well. As we know, as we come towards the end of the year, the Continental Classic will be coming back on AEW, and they've had some sensational matches last year. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that back. Looking forward to Pac and Ospreay all out as well. Finally, on AEW, we got Bryan Danielson, the new world champion, beat Swerve in an unreal main event at All In. Danielson come out to address his future in wrestling. We know that we knew that if he had lost on the weekend, that would have been it. Danielson's career would have been over. He did say at the end in the post-match scrum that it was time for him to go home to his family. So we wasn't sure what's next. He said that his actual AEW contract expires expired on August the 1st, and he's gonna need neck surgery at some point, and his family was ready to come home. So Danielson has done a lot of thinking, and he said AEW is awesome. He has loved pro wrestling his entire life, and the fact that AEW exists makes wrestling and Danielson's life better. Danielson realized it is probably time for him to go home. But not yet. Yes, Danielson will not retire while he's AEW champion. The moment he loses the AEW championship, he will bring an end to his full-time wrestling career. I'm planning to say the word full-time career because he could come back on a part-time basis here and there. But full-time career will be over only when he loses the AEW World title, which is great to see. He did say he then issued an open challenge for All Out. He did say he had plenty of heads to kick in, issued an open challenge to All Out, which was answered by Jack Perry. Yes, Jack Perry, the man who buried Darby Allin this weekend. He has then attacked Danielson, dropped Danielson with the knee and raised the title up higher. So Danielson's first title defense is against Jack Perry at All Out in just a week or so's time. Also, he's going to have to face Darby Allin. Assuming he gets past Jack Perry, he'll have Darby Allin to face at Grand Slam. That is confirmed because Darby Allin won the Rampage Battle Royal Rampage Battle Royal a couple of weeks ago now to guarantee that shot. And he also, assuming successful at any time, will have to face Christian Cage, who won the gauntlet match at All In, to get a title shot any time he wants. Interesting Dynamite this week. Look, was it the best wrestling show of all time? Absolutely not. But did AEW reset and show us where they'll be headed in a variety of different storylines? Absolutely. The wrestling wasn't as strong as we've become accustomed to on AEW this week, I think. But it's good to know that Danielson isn't going anywhere just yet. When you add into Swerve and Hangman, MJF and Garcia, Moxley's promo has everybody hooked right now as to what that could be. Add grizzled young veterans to the tag team division and Ricochet. Good stories tonight. In-ring action, not as high as possible, but leaving plenty to look forward to as we move into All Out next weekend, and we will be reviewing that as well. But come back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle channel for interviews, review shows, HTT Buckle on X and YouTube, Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast on Instagram. This has been the AEW review on the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. And until next time, everybody, buckle down, stay safe, and goodbye.